Hey, we're happy to be checking back in with State Representative Tacky Chan of Quincy for another Tacky Talk. We missed you last week, Tacky. How are you?
Hey Joe, it's good to see you. And yeah, it's been 2 weeks for a change for everybody. And I obviously definitely missed you last week. I was actually in Springfield last Thursday, post-vaccination, tacky, trying to adjust himself to real world life. I was attending a fundraiser for my good friend Carlos Gonzalez from Springfield on Thursday evening and decided that I would attempt to spend the night somewhere else than home for the first time in since December 2019.
Wow, you had to pack a bag.
I packed a bag, and my first trip to outside the home area is Springfield. So, I mean, baby steps, everybody, right?
Yeah,
Baby
well, you
steps.
stayed in the state, so okay, yeah.
Yeah, little steps, right? One step at a time. So, had a wonderful time supporting my good friend Carlos Gonzalez. In Springfield, he's actually the chair of public safety, and he's the former chair of the Black Latino Caucus in the House. And he's also my seatmate. He's been sitting next to me since he got elected. So he's a wonderful friend. And I was very
Nice.
happy to, go out there. And honestly, folks, you guys have heard me enough times. Muster the courage, in my case, to spend time with folks and talk to his supporters. And they're actually beautiful, wonderful people, his supporters. As I spent time with them all.
Nice,
Uh,
nice.
this was kind of part of the job. I don't think most of you guys realize. We do get invited to other people's events around the state, and we're able to go to support our colleagues and friends.
Hmm.
We try to do that whenever we can.
And I know that actually that area of the state is not as good at vaccinations as we are here in Eastern Mass right now, at least.
Yeah, the certain areas of the state, particularly in socioeconomics, as well as Latino and Black communities, are having a slower vaccination rate. It is true regarding the lack of access to pharmacies. Healthcare access is very different as you go around the state, as well as the hesitancy issue is real. And this continues to be a continuation of a, frankly, public education campaign
Mm,
everywhere, to get people vaccinated. Even in Quincy, I think we're above 60% total vaccination. It seems that,
just actually, yeah, the health commissioner reported last night 60.35% or something. Yeah.
yeah, we're in good shape, but we're still not quite there yet. And I think by the racial breakup, it's almost equal across all racial sectors and gender,
Mhm.
although women are getting vaccinated at a higher rate than men, I believe.
Mm.
But it's still fairly equal. But it's not like it's disproportionate. It is as some of these larger cities where the white population has a higher vaccination rate than the minority population. So, but also interesting observations when I went out to Springfield. COVID impact has different impact economically in different parts of the state, and it is the third biggest city. It's a
Mhm.
major economic hub in Western Mass. But I mean, it doesn't have the same high per capita. It doesn't have the same support system around it like we do in the greater Boston area. And I think we forget that sometimes about where we live and how where we live is not the same throughout the whole state.
Mhm.
And I can see the challenges of reopening. When I got out there and took a walk around with my good friend Carlos, and he walked me through what was going on in different neighborhoods. We did a drive around and looked at some of the economic impacts. And I'll be honest. I went out and had a couple of drinks with folks late into the evening, and it was pretty quiet. I know that it was Thursday night. It's Juneteenth and Friday, a holiday, uh, but it was still fairly quiet. And I did actually stop at the MGM casino to see what it looked like. And those who know me know that I know a lot about casinos because I did a lot of research on those issues when I worked for Mike Morrissey, and I know exactly how these things are designed and why they do it the way they do it. And it's basically a smaller version of a big version of MGM. So think of it as like a micro version of a traditional MGM hotel.
Okay.
But yeah, even they had a huge negative economic impact at the casino as well, for not just the closure, but also we have to do social distancing and whatnot.
Mm.
And even though it's an urban hotel, casino, you still have to get to it, and it's still dependent on people driving into Springfield, surrounding communities to utilize that facility. So yeah, it's different. When I was doing my little tour around, it is coming back to life. I mean, see people, using the diners, and I see people in retail, but you can still see a lot of store impacts from COVID.
Sure.
So,
Yeah.
so yeah, it was partially fun, partially support, and partly a little educational.
Well, there you go. It's nice to break out and see what's happening. It's a small state, but it's still very diverse, as you pointed out. Certainly economically.
Yeah, and I hope that people who are thinking about getting away do some staycations. So the Basketball Hall of Fame is in Springfield,
Mm-hmm.
and that could be a nice day trip, overnight trip for some families to go see the Basketball Hall of Fame. Even in Boston, they reactivated the tour stuff. So I was in dinner this week in Boston, and they had the Graveyard Tour. The Ghosts and Graveyards Tour. I don't know the name of it.
I think you're right. Yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't that like a food trolley, but it was half full. So actually, I've never done that tour myself, so I may consider it at some point this summer once we get to a quiet part of our schedule.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I should head into town and take a trolley ride.
Before we talk about some issues, Jackie, how is Speaker Mariano feeling? I know that since last we talked, he's had some health issues.
Yeah, he's got a pacemaker.
Yeah.
So that pretty much was published in the paper.
Yeah.
The last text message I got from him told me that he'll be up and about very quickly, sometime this week. Well, this is not Friday, but the week we're in currently.
Yep.
And he's going to be up and about, and he assures me that everything is just fine.
Good. Glad to hear that.
Yeah. I know people in the audience have people with pacemakers and heart conditions, so it seems like when I talk to folks, everybody seems to know something about this topic. So just take a little bit of time to get adjusted, and it'll be just fine in the end.
Good. That's because he has a lot of work to do, for sure. There's many things going on, including the debate over mail-in voting. Jackie, what's going on with that?
We included that in the last supplemental budget to continue mail-in voting, at least for the municipal elections. So we're going to continue basically creating an extension, but municipal elections are coming around. The Senate has not agreed to our supplemental budget, and I'm trying to remember what they did. I think they sent another vehicle back, and it became this it's a House Senate guys things. It's a technical issue of moving positions, 3 amendments, 3 different bills, and I'm not going to bore you with the technicalities, but I think there is some general consensus in both branches regarding continuation of mail-in ballots. I think the problem, again, is in the details.
Okay.
This becomes critically important this year because of municipal elections coming up in September.
Including here in Quincy, yeah.
Including here at Quincy. And everyone, of course, is staring at Boston because the mayor's race has caused an explosion of opportunity to run for office, all over the city of Boston right now. So, yeah, Quincy, Boston, all the major cities that have preliminaries are, kind of on pins and needles waiting for us to get an answer.
Right.
I've talked about this before, but the legalities, constitutional requirements regarding absentee ballots is actually statutorily driven. I believe the legal loophole was the state of emergency, which is now over.
Right.
So, so again, legal scholars smarter than I,
yes,
is probably have sounder legal footing than I can come up with regarding mail-in ballots.
Okay.
So, but I think the end of the day is that, it's going to sound awful, but you push the envelope forward on something that's very, very successful last time and popular. But we're running out of time. And hopefully the Senate and House conferees are able to come to a resolution soon.
So would the state continue to fund it, or would that be up to the municipalities?
Yeah, this is going to be a sticking point. I mean, municipal elections are funded by the municipalities. The state elections are funded by the state.
Right.
There is this concern about unfunded mandate, particularly on how they mail the ballots out. And even our level, I don't remember during COVID last year, there was a lot of scramble to try to fund the mail-in ballots through the reserves. So I think these are little details going to be worked out in conferees as we kind of move forward in the conferees to see where we are. But on the flip side, we do have a couple extra dollars to spend this year. Much to our shock.
Yeah, something like $5 billion, I think, is coming into the state. So yeah.
Yeah, we're this time last year I was talking about the sky falling and 1929 epic levels of devastation.
Yes.
Program. and services. And now a year later, we're talking a $5.3 billion lump sum from the feds in terms of federal stimulus money, plus our FY21 projections were overly conservative. So,
Yes, like 15% higher than expected.
yeah, $3.9 billion over projection.
Yeah,
21. So,
which is why the
but,
governor says, "Oh, great, we don't need sales taxes for 2 whole months." What do you think about that?
well, there's a little bit of a caveat to that, right? The fiscal year ends June 30th.
Okay.
So FY21, fiscal year 21 ends on July 1st. But the sales tax holiday recommendation for the 2 months is in the months of August and September.
Yep.
That's fiscal year 22.
Yes.
So those of you guys that does the accounting realize that if you have money in fiscal year 21, it doesn't carry over into fiscal year 22.
Oh, where does it go?
It has to either go to the general fund or spent as part of FY21 expenditures.
Oh, okay.
So
we're not flush with cash then.
well, we are flush, but it's people have this. The governor's giving this false impression that it's like, he gives the impression it's like money in your pocket and just keeps going in, but there's no accounting mechanism because people have this like kind of weird impression that the government isn't like private business where you run in fiscal cycles and then you have to report because we don't pay taxes because we're the government, right? We don't pay taxes. We don't tax ourselves, right? But I mean, people do this around, quarterly tax cycles, biannual tax cycles or annual tax cycles. And, everything that fiscal year, applies to your taxes, deductions, credits, you all know what I'm talking about. So, the government actually works on a fiscal cycle year for the purpose of balancing our books.
Mm-hmm.
This fiscal year is this much money, this much expenditures, this is how much we're under, how much over, but we're a balanced budget state. So if we're under, we have to cut or find money from reserves, namely the rainy day fund, or we just steal from other trust funds, which we've done before in 2003 crisis and 2008 crisis. So it's kind of a weird thing where he's trying to give an impression that, yeah, we do have money, but you can't spend this year's money next year. And our budget for FY22 has already been baked in for the 2-day sales tax. So we already took that revenue out.
Yes.
So FY22's budget, if we want 2 months of free sales tax, we have to take out 2 months worth of sales tax projections in the FY22 budget.
Okay.
And the money we have is FY21.
Oh, all right. So you couldn't fill that gap with the FY21 money.
For accounting purposes, the FY20 money stays in FY21.
Okay. So where does it go? The rainy day fund?
We either have to spend it within the FY21 expenditure cycle, meaning things that are programmed FY21, or you can put into a reserve fund or a rainy day fund or a trust fund or some other fund you can park the money.
Okay.
So one of the big drivers of our unusually strong revenues is actually capital gains.
Really? Oh, well, the real estate sales are through the roof, so not surprising. Yeah.
And the stock market went bonkers, which again, much to my surprise, I very shocked by still this. But I mean, by statute, all the capital gains money goes into rainy day fund. This was a thing they created back and starting in 2000, I think it was 2005-ish zone. They decided that we shouldn't be dependent on capital gains money, and all capital gains money should go to the rainy day fund, stabilization fund, because it's more inconsistent than any type of revenue. Housing prices can shift, or housing sales can shift. The stock market is completely unpredictable at certain stages. You don't know if there's going to be capital gains revenue, tax revenue.
Yep.
So a good segment of the over surplus, it's not really over projection.
Yeah.
We'll go to rainy day fund to start with, which would be good. The rainy day fund sitting at $4.4 billion. As we just learned from COVID, that's still not enough in case we have a rainy day.
Oh, let's not hope for another rainy day like this. Just rainy year and a half, please.
The endless typhoon, right?
Yeah.
So, a portion of that money is going to go to rainy day fund by statute. And then the rest of it would have to be somehow allocated as part of FY21 budget. And then the only way we can carry some of that stuff over is that we have to put into another reserve and then carry it over. But then we get October, and I'm getting really into details, folks.
Yeah. I'm following
You-
you though. I'm following you.
yeah, October, the comptroller officially closes our books as if to confirm FY21 is balanced.
Okay.
So we actually have a period of time from July 1st to October 1st to complete book balancing for FY21.
All right.
So,
So you
so
could.
that money is not spent right away when the fiscal year ends. So July 1st comes and FY22 starts. We don't suddenly spend that $3.9 billion by July 1st.
Gotcha. Okay.
The books close in October.
Okay.
So I'll give my favorite example is snow removal money, right?
Yep.
Everybody know what that means. So we had like a monster blizzard. We end up running behind on paying our snow removal bills, but it has to be balanced by October. You will get paid. They're always upset because we never seem to get there on time, but then we're still now moving money around FY21 to ensure we pay all our bills.
Okay. Okay.
And with COVID in place and the fact we're holding the federal assistance money in reserve as we're trying to sort this out, part of that $3.9 billion could be used to backfill some programs that we were fearful would be cut, or some COVID-related costs that we were going to just kick down the road.
Okay. All right. So suffice to say, it's always something to spend it on.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And a good chunk of that will be going into stabilization fund at some point.
Okay. All right.
So,
So do you think this is going to fly? Do you support it?
it's an interesting political problem because everyone loves tax holidays.
Oh, right. Yeah. I've already had people saying, "Oh, I've been waiting to buy this, and this. This will be great."
Now, honestly, could we get away with it? The answer is I don't know what FY22 looks like. So the idea of creating a new projection of revenue loss from 2 years of sales tax, 2 months of sales tax loss, balancing against the FY22 budget, and then we find ourselves in October needing to take from stabilization fund, rainy day fund, to fill in if our projections are wrong, doesn't seem very appetizing.
Okay. All right. I think it's what, $9 million is the estimate.
No, it's
No?
over $20 million for 2 days.
Oh, okay.
It's the average is between $20 and $25 million just for 2 days of sales tax holiday. Mind you, we're anticipating a massive rush in those 2 days. I believe it's August 13th and 14th.
That's
Be
right.
wrong. It could be wrong in those days, but I believe it's August 13th and 14th. So, I mean, it's about $25 million on average, sometimes even more. I suspect this year will be even more because people have a little bit of cash to spend.
Yeah.
Kind of come out of COVID hibernation.
Yep. So basically $10 million a day for 2 months.
Yeah, we're talking about a lot more money, I think, that people really, really understand. So a 2-day sales tax is approximately $25 million impact to the budget, FY22. If we extend that out to 2 months, and I'm not saying that it's going to be, $10 million a day loss, but even if it's $2 million a day loss over the course of 30 days, we're talking about, 60 days-ish or 61 days at $2 million. I mean,
So-
you're into like
$120 million. Yeah.
perhaps even more.
Yeah.
So no, it isn't like a small amount of money.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And if it, like I said, that's being really, really, really conservative because, like I said, 2 days between 20 and 25 minutes.
Yeah. Well, I've heard both sides. I've heard, obviously, the retail association is like doing handstands. They're so happy about this, and but there are some legislators like yourself who are worried about the impact on local services and local communities.
Well, yeah, and like I said, it's in a different budget cycle.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's an unknown, right? Yeah.
Well, as I like to always remind folks, it's not your problem. You don't have to deal with it. It's my problem. I have to deal with it. So it's like the funny thing about this world I live in is that everybody can advocate and want what they want, but at the end of the day, I'm the one who has to vote and figuring out how to deal with the situation.
Yeah. Yeah. So you decided yet? How are you going to vote on it?
Yeah, I don't know what we're going to do. The proposal came out like Wednesday. I was like, so what's this? We only get stuff by press release by the governor. I don't have any kind of additional details. There's no analysis done by the governor's office. There's no anything. It's just a press release. So maybe Department of Revenue and Administration of Finance will give us some concrete numbers down the road, or at least concrete projections.
Okay.
And see where we are. But it's like I say, it was a policy by press release situation.
Gotcha. Okay. So new, basically it was news to you too.
Oh, very much so.
Yeah.
Very much. You know,
Okay.
the only reason I can tell you about some basics how this operates, I've been around long enough to know how some of the basics operate. But in terms of what he wants in operation, I really do not have specific details how it would work. And
Yeah, it begs the question: is he pining for re-election? This would be making him very popular, I'm sure, if it were to pass.
well, there's also the interesting question about the fact that we rebuffed the governor this week regarding the COVID money.
Yes.
So this is not a coincidence. So the governor, wanted to take the 5.3 billion and use it himself any way he wanted.
Hmm.
The legislature has insisted that we put the money in a separate reserve, minus about $100 million the governor's already spent on community hospitals, health centers, and for specific communities that were underserved regarding the original disbursements by the federal government.
Right.
So we subtracted that money, and we sent back the bill governor to insist that we put this in reserve, and the legislature will allocate that money pursuant to federal guidelines, which I've talked to some folks and we're still figuring out what those federal guidelines are.
Oh, okay.
So it's not free money, folks. Just to let you all know, it's not free money. There
Yeah.
are
Interesting. You think the guidelines would have come out either with or before the money was allocated?
yeah, well, we're in the same position everybody is around the country. It's
Yeah.
we're learning as we go with the feds,
Okay.
because they can claw back money.
Mm-hmm.
That's right. We screw up, they claw back.
Mm-hmm.
We don't want that money clawed back.
No, especially if it's already spent.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, not a surprise, we rebuffed the governor this week, and the governor puts this sales tax proposal out this week at the same time, which happens to coincide of a press release regarding $3.9 billion in over projection or under projection of incorrect projection of funds for FY21.
Yeah. Interesting.
So you all tell me, folks. I mean,
It's politics at work for sure. Yeah, interesting.
absolutely.
Another issue we should talk about, I know we have in the past, is the whole redistricting tacky of Senate and House districts, and the interesting juxtaposition of what's going on with that. I know the city clerk here in Quincy is concerned, as I'm sure most are, about power being removed from them to set up their precinct lines.
Yeah, this is going to be a huge issue. We did receive a resolution from the city council opposing the House bill that's currently in the Senate to create our districts based on census blocks. As a guy against the ocean, because my district is against the ocean, I really don't have a lot of choices, folks, regarding how my district is drawn. One of the drawbacks and benefits of being a border rep is that I'm trapped. There's not a lot of movement. But obviously,
represent the fish, right?
well, I always try to, whatever. I can always, try to take it to Deer Island. I mean, they can see it from the beach. I could theoretically go that way.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, lobster, fish, flounder. My census count goes up a lot.
Yeah.
So, the urgency again is that under Constitution, to run for a state rep seat, you have to live in that rep seat for the prior year of election day. And given the fact we're not getting the census data to September 30th, this is a big problem. So for us to put something into law by, and hopefully no veto amendments by the governor, by election day of the year prior. So now I'm having problems remember what election day was last year, but whatever election day was last year, we have to get it on the books because you have to live in that district for 1 full year.
Okay.
So unless cities and towns can rapidly generate their precincts in like 2 weeks, as soon as they get the census data, we're going to get held hostage in the House on this 1 year constitutional requirement of living in your district. This is where the problem lies. So the House's proposal is to let us go ahead, draw our districts based on census blocks. And the argument for cities and towns clerks is, well, now we have to draw our precinct lines around your census blocks. Because the precinct lines don't necessarily have to cross through census blocks. What may happen in real life because the census blocks do not reflect politically drawn lines. You could have split precincts. So I could, in theory, have a bunch of census blocks, and I would have, because of the way city cuts their precinct lines, I would have a split precinct. That's the danger.
But doesn't the state have the same issue that cities and towns do? You don't have that data to draw those lines.
That's correct, which is why we're looking to be able to draw lines out city political lines drawn yet, and just go ahead with census block lines to get something done by election day of last year.
Okay.
This November on the governor's desk and signed into law. Otherwise, if we don't do that, there'll be a constitutional violation on people trying to run for office as state rep.
Right.
Of all the constitutional offices, this is the only one that has a pre-residency requirement by constitution. So like if you didn't vote in my district last November and you want to run for my seat, let's say you move into my district in July, you can't run for the seat.
Right. You haven't been there a year. Okay.
Yeah, this is the problem here. We're running across of cutting up the precincts. And if we don't make the constitutional requirement, it's going to create havoc and trying to run for office. This is not a good position to be in. There's no easy solution. And the federal government did this to us, and COVID did this to us. So it's not anyone's fault here. We're just stuck in this real constitutional bind. Yeah. And the voters actually did vote in 2012 to have us establish our districts before the next election. Okay. So there's actually a second constitutional requirement that requires us to do that. Now, the constitutional requirement says it's based on most recent census data. It doesn't, the Constitution doesn't dictate that cities and towns lines have to be drawn first. It just says that we have to draw our stuff based on the most recent census data.
Well, why not use the 2010 data?
Because it's not the most recent by the time September 30th hits, right?
Oh, okay.
Recent, yeah. And you can always say, oh, we can't use 2019. Well, 2019 isn't census data. That's projections.
Right.
So now we're working on projections to try and anticipate what our 2020 data will look like. And unfortunately, if we did our job correctly, the FY19 projection would not be correct for Quincy. If we did our jobs correctly, we should be hopefully over 100,000 people.
Right.
The 2019 projection is approximately 96,000 plus. If you go over 100,000, that's a huge significant difference.
Yep. Yeah.
And that has enormous impact on my district. For example, I could go from 13 precincts to 12 precincts because I need about 45,000 people for my district, or 44 and change.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it could be really funky. So this is not a favorable position to find ourselves in. We're trying to meet a constitutional requirement. Or we're going to have to mandate all cities and towns to have their precinct lines drawn in like 2 weeks and voted on.
Voted on by city councils?
In the area, and it's selected.
Okay. Yeah. Town meeting in some places, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So, you think about it. September 30th, data's out. November has to be signed into law for us to meet the constitutional requirements, as well as the state residency requirements. So that leaves you October, the whole month of October, and that's all you got.
Yeah.
So unless you can get the city and towns to turn something over in like a week.
That's going to be a challenge. It's going to be a challenge. I don't know if they start. They can't really start even a preliminary work right now. Because they don't know.
If the feds got us stuff by even mid-July, or even end of July, we probably could still pull this off. I mean, that means everybody's working through August at the municipal level.
Yeah.
To get something on, to be before their councils and selectmen.
Right.
By Labor Day, and it gives us a couple of months to do the rest of it, because the hardest part is actually the congressional districts. They only have a margin area of 1 person. I've got a margin area of 5% on each side of so it's like 2.5% on each side of the magic number.
Mm-hmm.
It's 1. So this is where it's really difficult. And the other problem I have with census blocks is that not all census blocks are created equal. It's not the equal population inside a census block.
Mm-hmm.
In my district, for example, I have a census block that actually goes from the edge of the police station, stretches right into Weymouth.
Oh, really? Okay.
So, but we know the people in that census block is not the same population size as the one in Germantown census block.
Right.
or where I live in Wallaston, because the census count will be different every block.
Yeah.
Add more complications.
Yeah.
But we also do census block for certain things. So, for example, the feds, have some money set aside for disproportionate impact communities based on per capita.
Mhm.
Two of those census blocks are in Quincy, Germantown-ish census block, and up in the Atlantic neighborhood-ish census block. Should qualify for additional federal assistance, make the city qualify for additional federal assistance regarding poverty issues, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if anybody, really want to look this up, bring up the census block maps, bring up the precinct maps, and then, just go through that. You can see where this gets really, really weird really fast, because I just spent like all last COVID looking at census blocks.
Right. Yeah. Interesting. And I know that, even in the city census, the response has not been great. The city clerk said only about 30% of respondents have sent them back so far.
Yeah, I'm not surprised a little bit. I think there's a combination of, like, it's a combination of fact we have a lot of privacy concerns right now still. I mean, we talked about this all last COVID about don't be afraid of the census, and don't be afraid of vaccines, and now this new scams coming up all over the place, and
Yep.
ransomware. We talked about ransomware again last time we talked. And then there's also, like, there's just general fatigue. I mean, are we supposed to do this or not? I think the returns will pick up as people kind of get settled into the summer months.
Yeah.
It's
Sent them out again actually this week, so they'll be coming out again.
Yeah, it's also been like the last 2 months of frantic, right? I mean, you had COVID, vaccine, school, kids, work.
Yeah.
Trying to plan a vacation for those who are able to plan a vacation. I mean, it's just, it's
Yeah,
been a
there were a
race.
lot of graduations I know that happened. Just a lot. You're right. There's a lot going on. Yeah.
There's a lot going on, and people are still adjusting to this new norm-ish, so to speak. So I'm not surprised that I think some things like that went to the wayside.
Yeah. All righty. Anything else we should touch on today, do you think?
Oh, well, let's talk about Ireland. We have the ambassador from Ireland from Massachusetts.
Yes, Claire Cronin, right?
Yeah, a good friend from Easton. She's the current majority leader. She's the first woman majority leader we've had in the state house. Well, in the House, we've had that in the Senate, but in the House.
Mm-hmm.
And she worked extremely hard for the Joe Biden campaign.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think people here on the call realize that she was the lead person for Joe Biden in Massachusetts, raised him a lot of money, put a lot of boots on the ground, so to speak, in New Hampshire for the president, and was presented. Her name was put forward to the Senate to be the next ambassador to Ireland. And I think we haven't had an ambassador to Ireland in a little while from Massachusetts. I'm trying to think. There's been more in the field, but it's been a little while. The nomination process would take between 4 weeks and 2 months, depending on how the U.S. Senate operates, because she has to go through a committee review process and put a name on the floor. And of course, they already did the initial vetting, but the vetting process continues as they're doing background checks and other things. Yep. So as representing a city of a large Irish population, this is actually very exciting to have one of our colleagues become an ambassador. I don't remember the last time a sitting state rep that didn't become a congressman or something else,
right,
become an ambassador. I'm sure it has been done. I just don't remember who it was and when it was.
Okay.
So that'd be pretty remarkable. And of course, that means in a few months there'll be changes in the House regarding the leadership team.
Yes, right.
A good friend, the Speaker, will have to make some decisions about the number 2 person, so to speak, in the House, because he was the number 2 person at one time.
That's right. Yeah.
And how he wants to reshuffle, referred to as the top 9 of the pecking order, because what a leader, anyone with a leader in their name is part of that top 9 group.
Yeah.
And we shall see. Expect to watch the papers a little bit, folks. You can see some people trying to promote themselves via the Boston Globe or the Boston Herald to try to see if they can, maneuver themselves in the leadership conversation.
Okay. Do you have an interest in that yourself?
Yeah. I mean.
Okay.
I mean, if the Speaker says he needs me to do something, obviously, I'll do the best job I can for the Speaker. Currently my chairmanship has a lot of things going on.
Yes.
That I don't think it doesn't make the press, but I mean, I got a division professional licensure organization bill that's sitting in both branches. I got a division professional licensure enforcement update bill that we're going to have to work on. You guys have already heard my thoughts about takeout alcohol. I'm still monitoring that situation. I'm still monitoring hospitality. I'm monitoring tourism industries. We have the potential expansion of beer and wine retail licenses. Not saying it's going to happen, folks, but that conversation's back up. We have car right to repair sitting in the federal court, but I also have car right to repair issues in the committee as well. And I'm kind of waiting for the federal court to see where they go in the fall. What else I got? I mean, ticket resellers are back, actually, a bit of a conversation. Again, I'm not sitting here saying we're going to change how we do ticket reselling, but the impact of COVID has a huge impact on all ticket-based venue businesses. So I'm still, keeping an eye on that stuff. Still working through everyone's home petitions. Anyone wants the exemption to the current alcohol license laws have to come through me. What else do I got? There's also the lottery stuff. We're watching how the lottery's been adjusting to COVID as well. We were looking at over 15% losses at the beginning of COVID, and now they're $75 million ahead of projections today. They're actually hit a record. They're going to hit a record number of over $1 billion in profit, the lottery. So, I mean, there's been a lot of applications to change how the lottery operates, especially online lottery.
Yes, yeah.
So, but I mean, they're $1 billion. I mean, they're going to have a bumper crop year despite COVID.
Seems to be doing pretty well even without online, yeah.
Yeah, these are ongoing conversations we're having about this kind of stuff. So, and this doesn't include a lot like small technical changes. I mean, I want more language advocacy. More language access in certain boards of registrations. We have some technical issues like the veterinarians need to sync up their licensing dates properly. I still have working with the Division of Professional Licensure regarding funding issues because they need more, the enforcement powers will need more funding perhaps down the road. And things like interstate background checks is a big thing I'm trying to push for with the division to see how we can put that in as part of their reviews of all licensees.
Sure.
What else we got? I got a lot going on in this committee. And I got all these like other professionals, like genetic counselors need an update regarding the education requirements. Realtors are looking for another continuing education update.
Oh.
A lot of what I call technical issues. Another technical issue is debt collectors, third-party debt collectors. Well, let me correct myself. That debt that's been bought by somebody else doesn't need a debt collector to collect debt. And that was actually kind of a short sentence, but a big mouthful. I'm trying to close some technical loopholes in that one. So yeah, I mean, the committee itself is very busy on top of dealing with, Asian racism still. And this is going to be an ongoing thing. I don't expect this stuff to die down to at least 2022. I still don't believe it will die down. I mean, a Chinese grandma was attacked on the edge of Chinatown like 3 Thursdays ago. Didn't make the newspapers. The only reason I know about it is because the granddaughter was so distraught. She put a social media post and it was picked up by one of the more like social media newspapers, not a mainstream newspaper.
I see.
But I mean, that stuff bothers me when you have such heightened awareness and grandma gets attacked in Boston. It doesn't happen here. It happens here, folks. I can't find them because it doesn't make the papers. Unless someone does a huge social media blast about, a parent or grandparent being attacked. I mean, I can't forget that issue. And also still we're trying to work with the governor and trying to diversify the boards and commissions right now. We found it yesterday that Asians represent less than 2% of all boards and commission appointments, which is minuscule to tally it. So we're having those conversations and, we still got the budget stuff coming through depending on what happens in conference. So, we're confident we're going to get the racism study for UMass Boston's Institute for Asian Americans. Obviously I'll be involved in that conversation as well as, hopefully getting some money to help Asian cultural organizations out there badly hit by pandemic. And then we're still not done there because I still got, to advocate as part of COVID money, things like, small businesses in my own district, women minority owned businesses in the district. then we have infrastructure money that's going to come through the federal stuff too. And I'm not even sure how we're going to spend this. I know there's a broadband component, but if there's a chance for me to get money for seawalls, I'm going to get that money for seawalls, folks. If there is a chance to do it.
Okay.
So, these are conversations we're going to be having with various chairs as well about how much of this federal money we can spend on what.
Right.
And if I get a signal saying I can try to get this money because it fits the federal guideline, well, I'm doing it, guys. If it meets the federal guideline, I'm going for it.
Okay.
So yeah, I have a lot going on. That's just on the policy and stuff. Doesn't include the constituent services, the press calls, trying to do friends with my colleagues, that are running their own events, and of course showing up at stuff at home, and I don't know, cooking dinner and take care of mom, and my lawn's gonna be
haircut and
yeah, it's just no different from anybody else's life as far as I'm concerned.
Have you heard about the State House opening at all? Any news on that?
Yeah, I actually was in the State House this week, picking up a few things, and it's eerie to be so quiet there. We're still projecting sometime after Labor Day.
Okay.
Once we get to July 15th, we'll have a better idea because the House temporary rules end on July 15th.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So depending on what the Speaker does after basically after July 4th, the Senate signals about the House rules will give us a clue about the building was opening.
Okay.
The concern, again, is very much the same. There is no air that moves. We live in a box.
Yeah.
It truly is a box. And there's no windows that goes through the whole building. You can't send air from one end of the room to another.
Gotcha.
Because those at home know they've got two windows open. There's on the other side of the house. Air passes easily. The other choice is massive filtration systems, but they're like listening to jet engines. We have like a handful of them in the House chamber. Last time I walked through there, and it is loud.
Is that right? Yeah.
Those air filters, and I live in a very small space office, so that's not practical. So I'm not going to speak for the Speaker, but this is what I think. Vaccinations at 4.1 million people. The governor projected target for vaccinated Massachusetts people, what he expected actually happened. Yeah, I know. I sound like I'm surprised, but back in February, I wasn't wicked optimistic.
Oh, I know.
If you remember what February was like. So I was like, I'm going to hit 4.1 million? Really?
Right.
Given how things were really rolling out, I wasn't feeling all that good about it. But, we're 4.1 million. My prediction, and like I said, it's based on just tacky gut feeling. The FDA will approve vaccinations for children under 12. And so I see that Novak is likely to get some kind of temporary approval in the fall, so we'll probably have a fourth vaccine available. And there's another one that's talked about maybe submitting a emergency request by Christmas time.
Okay.
5 vaccines ready, all of which could also be booster vaccines.
Yep.
By Christmas. And it's not impossible for the state to have 5 million out of 7 million people vaccinated by the end of summer. That is not impossible. So if we cross the 5 million barrier, looks like we can do that by after Labor Day. Maybe we'll become more comfortable opening up basically the non-ventilated box that we work in.
Right. Yeah. Essentially, that would be herd immunity for the state at that point. Yeah.
Yeah, and the question becomes out-of-state people because it's an open building. And those who've been looking at the vaccination rate, and Bloomberg, by the way, has a wonderful map on these things if you really are curious on your own. In some states, really low vaccination rates. And like I was watching a story yesterday about Missouri City, where the Delta variants just ran rampant.
Saw that
rampant.
Too. Yeah.
Because of insufficient vaccinations.
Yeah.
So the concern becomes who comes in next. And right now, the studies have shown so far, that even if you're vaccinated, and someone catch COVID and you're vaccinated, you don't transmit COVID. That's the key thing.
Right.
So if I, am 6% chance-ish of catching COVID, and I do get it, and I have very mild symptoms, I cannot give it to you.
Which kind of squashes the pandemic status of COVID.
That's the key thing.
Right.
If it was, because we talked about this before, if I was infected, I can still transmit despite the fact I have a degree of resistance.
Right.
The pandemic will continue to rotate to define its major death opportunity, major victim to kill,
Right.
with an unvaccinated person. So hence is what herd immunity is all about.
Yep. Yep.
So the concern with us is always the same thing as, today's Globe said, Logan's had the highest record number of international travel in a year. And people coming into the state from all over, you don't know what they bring with them. And I know people advocate against vaccine passports. Okay, I hear you all. But have you ever thought about who's coming into our country? Do you want to know if they've been vaccinated before they come to our country?
Well, I mean, all you have to say is Biogen. It's kind of how it started.
Well, it isn't hard, right? You're exactly right. It was Biogen. We infected like 2 countries and like 6 states or whatever. It was crazy. I mean, we infected foreign countries because of Biogen. So I think, folks get a little caught up on like this little view, just their own little universe, and not really thinking about the bigger picture here. And opening the State House is an example of the bigger picture problem.
Yeah. All righty. Phone number, website, social media, right?
Yeah, 617-722-2014, 617-722-2014. That's the landline. Smash a button. We'll get your message. My email is tackey.chan@mahouse.gov, tackey.chn@mahouse.gov. Still, we're in full committee mode. Next public hearing will be on my Facebook Live on Monday.
Okay.
So that's Tackey Chan at State Rep. State Rep Tackey Chan, State Representative Tackey Chan, Facebook page, public page. You can watch my public hearings there and watch me flub as much as I do in this video, in a different format. So you can catch up with you place, folks. But yeah, I mean, my public hearings are now every Monday we're projected to August 2nd. We'll take a break in middle of August. And
Okay.
we're going to be running public hearings every week. So you guys are curious about some of the stuff I deal with, you can watch it on Facebook Live on Monday. I believe next hearing is Monday, 1 o'clock.
Okay, great. And next time we chat, it'll be July.
Yes. Wait, July 1st is next week, isn't it?
Yes, next Thursday. Yes.
Oh, so yeah, next Thursday. So yeah, no, we'll say goodbye to June and say hello to July when I see you next.